Yo,
Yo, King, do you hear about what they just added to the game?
no, what?
A huge update to PTR.
Wait, what? Yo, PTR on top of PvP changes, combat improvements, and continued fixes? Massive W. Yo, what's going on YouTube? KingRaliant back with another video for you guys. I just want to say thank you so much everyone for offering all the support lately. The videos have been doing so very well, and I can't thank you guys enough. That being said, what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about the future of New World. Now, I'm not talking about ironclad information. I'm also talking about some of the leaks that have been come out recently and some ideas that maybe we have and what all of that could mean if you put it all together. If you guys like this video, as always, be sure to click the like button, click the subscribe button, share this with a friend. I really appreciate you all doing that. And let's get into the deep. First things first. What has been done? Well, we saw massive dev blogs in this past week that explained so much information. So let's do a quick recap of that. Guys, the PvP in this game is something that is to be desired and something that I think a lot of people find so enjoyable, including myself. So to see a dev blog of them completely targeting PvP, war, and territory made me so happy. So I'm going to briefly just hit the 3 points of this. Open world PvP. So basically they want to make the open world PvP more enticing, which I'm all for it. Please make it more enticing. Me personally, I'm flagged up all the time. The second point, we're talking about war. Now, war is something that a lot of people have been enjoying. This is the bread and butter of New World, but this also has been one of the biggest complaints. The lag exploits, the lag issues, the no cooldown, how frequent the wars are, etc, etc, etc. So one of the things they're wanting to do is they're wanting to add that cooldown timer, and they're wanting to put a little bit of a grace period on there for you to be able to recuperate, plan, and not have it seem like it's so often. Me personally, I play on Valhalla. Wars happen all the time, but eventually that's going to wear you down and leave you no time to do anything else. They're just looking at how war can be a better gameplay for all of us. The last thing is that territory control. So territory control has been something that has shunned a lot of people away from the game, made them transfer servers, or also just had a positive light in general. The biggest one is the fact that when people take over those very key towns like Everfall and Windsward, they make so much money from it. Those are the economical cities and territories to claim, which make them so difficult to end up taking back, because usually your top-notch company on the entire server has it. Now, there should be a reward for being top-notch, don't get me wrong, but there is a massive tax income when it comes to those few territories, and a pretty big difference when you go to the ones that nobody ever visits. So they're looking to address that, make it a little bit more even playing field, and I like this. I really do. Here's a reason why. I like this concept because what they're going to do is going to make each territory more enticing for those more competitive companies, because there's always going to be more than just one, and it's going to be harder for you to control multiple of them. So even though you might be saying to yourself, well, that just means the top-notch guild is going to have all of them then. Okay, there's a fair chance it happens, but that requires a lot of upkeep in order to accomplish that. Now you're going to make Morningdale more interesting. You're going to make Ebonscale Reach more enticing. It's just, I think, going to be a really good change overall. And speaking of overall, all of these changes that they're doing, this is what I mean by the future of New World. This is one of the things that I have seen that's massive. This is a good level of transparency. This is well thought out. They're putting time into this. The next big dev blog came out just a day later than the big PvP one, and they went over all of the current issues, all the things that have been, I hate to say this, but wrong with the game, all the things that have been very unhealthy to the game, and the biggest complaints from the player base. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all the way through this. If you guys want to see these yourselves, I will put the links down in the description below so you can go see them. The thing that caught my eye when I did read this, that gave me a lot of hope, was their chart and how they explain the economy and deflation. So what this tells me is that they are actually keeping an eye on what the economy is doing and how much gold is coming in and gold is coming out. They're tracking this data and they're being aware of this data. That tells me that they are involved with the future of this game and the development of it and where it goes. And guys, they did say that they were going to be doing weekly patches, which is absolutely massive, and I will touch up on that in just a little bit. A few other things that stuck out to me with this is the war lag. They're looking at it, they're doing short little cycles, they're testing it through development, they're trying to balance it out, and they're trying to make it better and better. The game has been out for about a month and a half now, and we've already seen some major updates. They're looking at the invasion difficulty as well. That's another big thing people have complained about. Looks like they might tweak it a little bit, we'll see. But again, it's something that is a big part of the game, and the fact that they're looking at it means that they're noticing where they can improve on. Now, there is a section of this that I do want to kind of talk about specifically, because this goes into the whole point of this entire video: communication. They actually posted to us that they have been listening to our feedback. They care about the future and development of New World, and they realize the potential that this game absolutely has. So do you remember how I said just recently weekly updates are a massive W? Well, this is where they made that commitment. Additionally, we have made the commitment to post a notice every Tuesday on the status of our weekly patches to let you know how it is looking and when it might ship. For every weekly update, we will continue to provide mega threads for feedback and bug reporting. We're also working very hard to be more actively communicative and present here in the forums on a daily basis. I don't know about you all, but that level of transparency gives me so much hope for the future of a game. A lot of games keep you in the dark. They don't tell you what's going on, but the dev team for New World is doing the exact opposite, and I love them for it. What better way to continue to improve a game than improving its combat playstyle? We had another dev blog talking about the combat responsiveness and a lot of the bug fixing and tuning that's going to be involved. Now, the key word in that is going to be tuning, and that's what I love about it, because they're going to be looking at making the weapon swap be more fluid, and they just want the combat flow to feel smoother in general. I'm a huge fan of this because the combat system in New World is something that I feel is what separates it from all the other MMORPGs. It has this Dark Souls kind of esque style to it, mixed with ESO, but still a little bit of FPS and even old MMOs. Now, even though they're talking about responding to the jankiness of the combat, I do have two questions that I always wonder if they'll implement on the topic of combat. And those are, would it be beneficial to add diminishing returns? Something that would prevent you from being fully stun locked by multiple hammer users, so you could actually have more of a capability of pulling off 1v3s and 1v5s. Now, if this is something that they don't want to add, that's completely understandable. Maybe they want to do it to where they don't want people to be able to pull that off, and instead rely more on your team. However, the idea and concept of diminishing returns has been something they added in a lot of MMOs that have proved to have been a good implementation, because it helped avoid those overpowered, well synergized team compositions. So I think it's just some food for thought for both all of us and the developers to possibly consider. The last one may be an unpopular opinion, but it's something I still want to bring up: the removal of iframe during the dodge. Now, I know this is something that was big in Dark Souls and usually exists in games. The BDO has it, Arcade had it, etc., etc. However, I would like you to be able to avoid damage by literally dodging out of it, not just relying on the iframe game mechanic that's currently implemented. Now, I don't know if this would hurt the game or help the game. This is why I said this is more of a theory, but I do think it would be beneficial for them to look into the concept of removing the iframe for a few reasons. Not only because it's frustrating when they can just roll through something that would do a lot of damage and was on them, but because they timed their iframe, boop, they take no damage, but also because it gives people a mechanic that they can really abuse, and it kind of seems like that's what makes the combat sometimes not feel as smooth. Because the flip side of that coin is, all right, so there's a skill ceiling with using iframes. Now that's kind of where you can separate the good and great players, but I think it would be better to put that skill not into how can I abuse this game mechanic better, but more so in what's your cooldown management like, how's your positioning, what's your game awareness like, how's your aim. Those to me are actual game skills, not I'm really good at rolling and using this mechanic. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Now on to this PTR update. Man, this is a massive release. Seeing this is huge, and I'm so happy to see it. First off, it's going to be released later today for us to be able to jump in. You're gonna have two servers. It's going to be US East and Central Europe to start. Now, seeing a PTR getting added this early, I love it because you can actually start testing this stuff, and we can really start getting involved and tinkering around with things, and essentially even helping the development team with constructive and positive feedback on how they can prevent problems when they implement it to go live. Now, the flip side of this is I was never a fan of PTR when it came to raids and expeditions, so I will say I hope they never add that. Now, before you jump down my throat, here's the reasoning. I like the concept of when a new raid comes out, you have to go blindly into it. So if you're going for world first or speed run, it's not who spent 4 months of planning, it's racing to be the first one to complete it blind along with everyone else. It's a level playing field. for everybody, not just those who have time to go into PTR. So I would like to see them keep raids and expeditions out of the PTR and leave that to just their game testers, in my personal opinion. But still, seeing it in general is a massive win because it will help in so many other areas. And again, seeing it this early, big props to the dev team. With that being said, the new weapon, Void Gauntlet. First off, this kind of gives me a lot of confidence to know that we're probably going to see Void Gauntlet as the first official released weapon now that we're seeing it on the news thing for the PTR, because we don't see the other two that have already been leaked, which I'll discuss later. Now, the Void Gauntlet was leaked back in August, so if you want those lists of abilities, I'll link them down in the description below. I encourage you to give them a read. This is going to be a very fun weapon in my opinion. This is going to be a very magic DPS support hybrid weapon, which is going to create a very interesting dynamic. I think we're going to see a lot of casters use it, a lot of healers use it. We might even see some melee hybrid builds kind of play around with it. Maybe a rapier Void Gauntlet. I don't know. With this being focus and intelligence based, having those double stats that benefit it, I think you'll see it rolled into a lot of situations. You've got one side that's close range magic damage and the other that's healing and debuffing. It kind of has that take of Warhammer where you've got one side which is just straight raw damage, the other side is just straight CC. Moving on, we've got a new enemy type, the Varangian Raiders. Now, seeing a new enemy type is really exciting because we're seeing some new enemy variety added to the game. Speaking of which, not only are we seeing new enemies, but some that already exist, including a pirate alligator. I don't know what the concept of that's going to be, but I am extremely excited to see how they design that. But we've got Withered Swordmancer, Beetle, the Lost Shaman, Ancient Guardian Pyromancers, more Corrupted Laborers that are enhanced. They're adding more and more. And this is exciting to see, and it's already on the PTR apparently. Some new quests to go along with that enemy variety, and some new legendary weapon quests. Now, I'm curious about this one. Along with the Void Gauntlet quest that you'll be able to get when you get that to max level, I wonder, does this mean they're going to be making a new quest chain that will give us 600 gear score from the quest? And will it actually be legendary, or will it just be an epic like they have been? We are starting to see now them build upon that story foundation that they built as a platform to start. Granted, there's not a lot of story into the game right now, but I think that's on purpose. They added a really good building block for them to stack more story on and start to create that flow. A lot of games have done this and they're just following suit. Seeing this is a good step in the right direction towards that goal. New PvP faction missions, these are now being more PvP focused and encouraging you to actually not just ignore people who are flagged. Right now, the PvP missions are all right, but they don't really motivate you to actually engage in PvP. You kind of are just going to do it because you're a PvPer, or you're just going to be focused on getting your tokens and going from there and just trying to survive if you get attacked. This will actually encourage you to start attacking other people doing those missions. Love this change. Last but not least is going to be the new trading post experience where they're linking the trading post. This was talked about in the upcoming changes in a dev blog a while ago, and I think they're just trying to make a more traditional auction house from other past MMORPGs, so this doesn't surprise me. I think this could be a healthy change. However, we'll have to see how it's implemented and how it takes off from there. I like the idea of them doing the separate thing. It was a cool concept, but I do think the unified trading post will be the better option. Now, speaking of transparency, I'm sure some of you may have heard that there was a pretty decent sized content leak recently, but a lot of it was stuff that we actually had already found out from another leak back in August, but this just seemed to more confirm it. So what the data miner actually found on November 4th was that we would be getting 6 new expeditions: Unholy Depths, Frozen Passage, Barnacles and Black Powder, Eridanos Caverns, Isabella's Lair, and the Enid. 3 new weapons, which look to be the Void Gauntlet, which we actually have an entire list of all the skills here, which again, I will be putting this link down in the description below so you can check this out. And on top of that, it looks like we could also be getting the Blunderbuss, which just sounds like a grand old time, but also the Dagger. Now, getting these, I'm curious what this could bring. So, double Dagger. I wonder if they do the animations and the abilities that we've kind of seen from like the Angry Earth double Dagger guys and the skeletons that do the dual wield swords. I wonder if that's going to offer any inspiration to what the abilities will be, because you don't see all the abilities that NPCs have, even though we can use their weapons, but you do see some that you can mimic and have your own version. And if that's the case, it means Dagger could be very like Demon Hunter-y, where you just dash forward and do a lot of damage and highly mobile, which I kind of feel like it should be. Then you're getting more of that Spanish conquistador, that 1600s with that, you know, adding into the explosives and the gunpowder with the Blunderbuss. Man, that just seems like it's going to be so good in a PvP situation. I really feel like you're going to see Blunderbuss a lot. But more than all of those, that Void Gauntlet, if you guys actually look at the abilities, which I highly recommend you do, that is going to be probably the most popular weapon when it drops. It just looks absolutely insane. So we also have some new armor sets, a new region, Brimstone Sands, and the possibility of mounts. Now I want to touch up on all three of these things, but first thing I want to touch up on first is PvP Arena, the future of New World. PvP Arena and possible expedition mutations, which are like mythic pluses from WoW. You could not implement a better system in my honest opinion. And here is the reason why. Both of these elements offered such a really good competitive zone for World of Warcraft. And any other game that has ever implemented a style like this of team play in a small arena such as that, or being able to offer those speed runs with a collective team of people who have strategized and working together, I think if they go about it the right way and try to maybe eliminate the toxicity that comes from it, you can only do so much. When they add arena, I'm set. I will be so far in love. Even the expedition mutations. Going on to the region, the Brimstone Sands. So in the leak that I mentioned that we saw in August, we got this fun little map right here. So if we compare this to New World now, right? We've got Ebb and Scale Reach right here. And this is basically all of what a tournament is at this very moment. This is what we can actually see and go to. So where do we think we see Brimstone Sands? Well, I think it's this big pink area right here. I think this is the big pink area, honestly. Like that big pink area, I think is exactly what the Brimstone Sands is going to be. And if you look at the size of it, right, it's nowhere near as big as all of Eternum. But what it is probably 2 zones in itself. So I feel like this is going to add quite a bit to the game, especially if we're getting this leak. We could see this within the next 3 to 6 months. I feel like that could be great. And if we see it within the next 3 months, I feel like it'd be better. Now, going on to the one thing that was not 100% confirmed being considered possible, the horses. Mounts in this game has been something that's been very much so talked about. A lot of people are for it. A lot of people hate it. I'm indifferent. I think adding mounts in the game right now would be a very bad thing to do for New World. I think it would eliminate a lot of the nuances that the game has to offer, and it would instead become more of a nuisance. Now, when they add the Brimstone Sand region and they start expanding more into it, because they did say that only 20% of the map is actually been released. Yes, add mounts, right? Because then fast travel is used to be able to teleport across large zones and areas, and then use the mounts to be able to travel like within those areas because it's so massive. But I guess you could say, well, then what's the point of just using mounts? Just keep what it is now and using fast travel. I think if they did it in a very smart way and they made it to where you couldn't basically be invincible or run away from everyone while on a mount, I think it would be fine. I think if you keep it as a way to give people an advantage in a non-PvP environment, that might be the best way to go about it. But I could be very wrong on that. This is why I say I'm indifferent. I don't know exactly how I feel about mounts. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. But all in all, everyone, what does all of this information and all of this leaked fun facts mean for the future of New World? Well, the verdict, promising. I think it means that New World in the next 3 to 6 months is going to become a game that surprises people even more. It already did on day 1 launch. Granted, it has dropped a lot. I know there's been a ton of articles about people leaving and the game's been in a state of attrition. But you know what? The nice thing about attrition is you can always stop and you can always regrow. And I absolutely think that's what's going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months for New World because of what they're going to implement into the game. A few of these things, such as the arena, more expeditions, expedition mutations, things of that sort are going to add so much replayability to the game, and people are going to fall in love with it because of that. I know I am one of those people, and I know a ton of other people within my company and everywhere else that would really love to see these implemented. And here is the biggest thing that I have to give the New World development team. I think they have their priorities straight. They care about the direction of this game, and I think they're doing the right things in the right order. They postponed their entire Halloween event stuff, which could have got them more money from the store, to be honest, and just released the stuff they'd already implemented and unlocked it for us to buy so that we could focus more on bugs and exploits. They said all of October was going to be used for that. Then they found some more, so now more than likely all of November will be. They're focused on fixing the issues that can break the game more so. And they were even bold enough to shut down the economy. And even though that was very bold, it only lasted for a day, and they were able to get a lot of those problems fixed. Not all of them, but they are trying. And I've got to give them the credit. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm defending, games that aren't done before they're released, or, games that have all these problems, or et cetera, et cetera. But I am going to defend the development team for A New World itself in the current state, because they are following a direction that will make this game become even greater than it always is. And I, for one, am really looking forward to it. That's all I got for you though. And as always, if you guys are interested, I do stream on Twitch. You can find that link in the description below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and share this with a friend as always, so they can enjoy watching this video as well. But most importantly, share some good vibes. And as always, stay shiny.